Hi all! Everything in my video is pulled from the public domain, and I am using them under the Fair Use, Fair Dealings guidelines. Everything I say is my own opinion. You should look into this information for yourselves, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Good morning, everybody. All right, you guys, we have a lot to cover today. As usual, there's just more. It just never stops. All right. Let's just get in there, shall we? Let's go. All right, we're going to start off this morning with Princess Catherine, not Kate Middleton, as this article refers to her. She arrived at the Guards Polo Club today because she was going to watch Prince William play polo in a charity match. It's called Outsourcing. It is the Royal Charity Polo Cup 2023, and it took place in Windsor. There were 11 charities that were going to profit from this match today. Now, I really don't have to cover these, but I'm going to anyway. Picture after picture of William on top of the horse, playing polo. No beer belly for him, unlike his brother. He doesn't have man boobs. That is a physique, you guys. My goodness. Ooh, William. No wonder she's always smiling. Oh, my goodness. All right. So there were people she was hanging out with. One was Italian jockey Frankie Dettori. And the other person that's there, if I'm not mistaken, in that beige kind of suit is, I believe that's the new head of her PR team, who's doing such a great job with their PR. Anyway, it appears that Williams' team won because, he got a trophy at the end. And guess what? Catherine didn't stand there with 5 people holding the trophy over her head. Peter Phillips, just FYI, was also there. A big thank you to Remoulade Sauce for showing us her fabulous outfit. Interesting, lots of Harry's polo friends, including Nacho, are playing at the polo club, and Harry's not there. Wonder why. Moving on. Next up, we have the Duke of Gloucester, who was in Lincoln, and he was met by the mayor, and he was visiting the Cornhill Quarter and Cornhill Market. And while he was there, he took a guided tour to see the redevelopment and the new architectural work in the area. Now, while he was doing that, his wife, the Duchess of Gloucester, was at Wimbledon at the All England Lawn Tennis and Croquet Club. I know you guys want me to say Wimbledon, tin. I can't do it. I'm so sorry. I try. I really do. Now, also sitting in the royal box was James Middleton and his wife. Now, of course, we know that they're expecting a baby. I love the way they put it out. I love these photos that they posted to announce their first pregnancy. I think that's lovely. All right, moving on. This last one's my favorite. Beautiful. All right, moving on to Princess Anne, the Princess Royal. We know she wasn't at the coronation, but some pictures showed up of her coming back. So the question was, where was she? Well, she was officially opening a royal hospital for children and young people. So she skipped the coronation, well, not the coronation, but the service of Thanksgiving, so that she could go open a children's hospital. And then when that was over, then she rode back for the flyover. Very nice. All right, now we're going to move on to Sophie, because what she did was she went to the Household Division Beating Retreat Musical Spectacular in London. Now, for those of you who are unaware, this ceremony goes all the way back to the 16th century England, and it was used to bring troops back from the front lines, and it's on the Army's ceremonial calendar. It always takes place at sunset. The troops do drills, they set off fireworks, and they set off cannons in time with the military music. And it raises funds for the Army Benevolent Fund to help soldiers, veterans, and their families. How wonderful is that? Now, while she was there, she took the salute, and this is the very first event it's being reported that Sophie has attended alone since she became the Duchess of Edinburgh in March. I think she looks lovely. I love her outfit. And once again, as usual, a big thank you to Remoulade Sauce for all the information on her clothes. Moving on. Let's move on now to Edward, the Duke of Edinburgh. He went to visit the Royal Lyceum, I hope I'm saying that correctly, Theatre in Edinburgh. Now, this is all being done with everybody because remember, this is the annual Holyrood Week. And when that was over, it was time to head back to Holyrood Gardens for the ceremony for the Duke of Edinburgh Scotland Awards, people that are receiving their gold awards. Oh, very nice. All right, let's move on now to King Charles and Queen Camilla. They were very busy today. First, they went to a town called Selkirk, and they went to the local market and the Waverley Textile Mill. Lots of crowds, everybody's so excited to see them. You know, that just makes you realize how much the public really loves them. You literally, when you look at these pictures, you literally can how do I explain? You literally can feel the excitement through the pictures. These people love Charles and they have accepted Camilla. You know, after all these years, she's done her due. You know what I mean? I wish they had been allowed to marry in the first place. Wasn't allowed. You can't undo history, but I'm glad that they finally found their way back to each other. I mean, it is what it is. All right. So they went to Selkirk. They went looking at the market. And then while they were walking around, they saw some of those crocheted mailbox toppers, remember, that I showed you guys during the Platinum Jubilee? Now, when they got done walking around, they went to visit the Great Tapestry of Scotland Visitor Centre in, I hope I say this right, Galashiels. Now, you can see the panels behind Camilla's head, and what this is, it's the national visitor attraction in the Scottish border, and what it is it is a huge tapestry that tells the story of Scotland. So they had Camilla put in the final stitches for the panel for her and the king. And so they go to look at this panel. And of course, Camilla has to point out that they actually put their dogs on the panel as well, which I think is really cute. Now, this tapestry is 469 feet long, but keep in mind, these are made up of individual panels, and they are placed in, as best as they can tell, chronological order. And it tells the story of Scotland's culture, history, and heritage. I think that's really cool. Interesting, don't you? Interesting. All right, moving on. Now, Charles and Camilla then went to a business called Loch Carron of Scotland. This company is the leading manufacturer of real, authentic tartan cloth and accessories, to make kilts. This mill is located in Selkirk, I hope I'm saying that right, and they were taken around by Managing Director Dawn Bell to take a look at the facility. Very nice. All right, let's move on to Harry and Meghan. Stories are coming out now that Harry and Meghan are not, universally liked at Netflix. Apparently, Meghan has ruffled a lot of feathers with the top brass. Neither one of them is universally loved, the article says, but Meghan has been singled out for being a know-it-all. They said Harry's not the problem, but Meghan thinks that she knows how to run Hollywood. Is anybody surprised by that? Now, we know that right after Spotify canceled them, Netflix put out a statement saying that they plan on working with them for years to come. Well, maybe that's because they already gave them $40 million and they're trying to get their money's worth. Moving on. And in that same vein, Meghan has supposedly been told that she can't work with Harry anymore. If she's going to save her career, she needs to do it by herself because Harry just is holding her back, supposedly. So her team has told her to quote unquote go solo. The problem is people are interested in the royalty, not in her. All right, moving on. All right, let's move on to what was absolutely, okay, I can't even say it. Let's just move on. We know that Harry took his kids to an Independence Day parade. Okay, fine. He took them to a July 4th parade. He did it on the 4th just a few hours before Charles had his service, his second coronation celebration in Edinburgh. So what I find interesting is that, first of all, he went to a celebration of the U.S. marking its independence from the U.K. from British rule. That's the first thing. Second thing was these pictures were taken on the 4th. They were held until the 5th in an attempt to, as the Sussexes always do, try to overshadow the king's, second coronation. Guess what? It didn't work. Nobody was really that interested. I wasn't even that excited to see these photos. I thought I would be. But no, I wasn't excited. They have withheld the children to the point where even when you might get a glimpse at them, it's like, who cares? I'm telling you, it's crazy. But anyway, okay, so these pictures came out, and now we're going to dissect what actually went on with these pictures, okay? So first thing is, let's take a look at Lilibet, as they want her to call. Here she is on Harry's shoulders at Frogmore Cottage, supposedly. And as you can see, her hair is very clearly brown. Let me zoom in. That is not red hair. That is brown hair. The child has brown hair. Now, let's go back to the Netflix docuseries. Here she is with Meghan. She has blonde hair. Let's zoom in. That's not red. That's blonde. Now, here we are. Now, supposedly, she has fire engine red hair. So, of course, they come out with the stories, how the kids spent July 4th. There's this one photo that clearly shows Meghan on the right side. Supposedly, that's Archie standing there. Yeah, who can tell? From so far away. I do find it interesting that Harry seems to be wearing the same hat, the same glasses, and almost the exact same color shirt. But then it doesn't look like he ever gets new clothing. I mean, look at Harry here in the Oprah interview with the hole in the shoe, and he's wearing the gray suit that we've been looking at for 7 years. Here's Harry and Meghan at somebody's wedding, and as you can clearly see, Harry has a hole in his shoe. But isn't that interesting that he can't buy anything new, and yet Meghan is running around in outfits that cost ridiculous amounts of money? Now, one of the things that stood out for everybody was the fact that they had their daughter in these blood red buckle shoes with the knee-high socks and a very older style dress, okay? Very interesting, because if you look here, here's the Cambridge children and Harry when he was younger with the socks on. Now look at the dress that Charlotte is wearing here in this right. Now look at the dress that Lily's wearing. Very old style. I find it interesting that she was in this kind of traditional outfit because it wasn't that long ago when Meghan was pregnant that they put out, articles that they were going to dress their child, Harry and Meghan were going to dress their child in modern clothing, not in this English style, but that's what they did. Then people zeroed in on the shoes and the socks, that go up. Okay, so here's another one of Charlotte in the socks and the shoes. But here's something interesting. Here's Diana in the knee-high and the shoes. So I think they were doing a copying Diana. Here's a better one in color. What do you guys think of that? Now, as Taz pointed out, when you look at the size of her being held by Meghan Markle, look how long her legs are. Well, this is when she's blonde. And then you look at her being held by Harry when she's red-headed. It doesn't look like she's grown. Again, with the trickery and the faking. And, this is why people just aren't interested anymore in, is that really their kid? People just don't care anymore. And I agree with Genevieve. We knew they were going to start bringing the kids out. That's going to be part of their branding. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Jack Royston, who we all know is a sugar and a big backer of Harry and Meghan, put up this article that basically said this is the thing that Harry's fighting for. So for those of you who don't know, in Britain, you have the European privacy laws. So you're not allowed to take pictures of people in public if they're just going about their private lives. But according to Jack Royston, California does not give rights for images taken in public places. Therefore, they can take pictures of the children's faces and splash them around. But that's actually not true. In the United States, it's legal to photograph anyone, including children, but the exception is in California. So the Daily Mail put the pictures up and pixelated the kid's face, but Page 6 did not. Therefore, Page 6 had approval to print those. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to. So once again, this was a setup. You can tell this was approved. How did somebody know exactly where they were going to be to take those pictures? And if you notice at the bottom, the pictures were taken by, drum roll please, Backgrid. Anybody shocked by that? Now, to end this, I have to tell you about this article that came out. Remember, Harry met up with Meghan in Soho. He went down the back halls. He got to the room. She pulled him in. There was no time for even a hello. It was so steamy. And it took place on the anniversary of his mother's death. Oh my God, disgusting. How much you want to bet that was planned? They got back together on the anniversary of Diana's death, and she was probably wearing Diana's perfume at the time too. Oh my God. Oh. All right, guys. Now, I really want your opinions, especially on the fact that they basically dressed the little girl like Diana. This is just getting creepier and creepier by the day, in my opinion. All right, so leave those comments below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you've already hit the button, double check. Make sure you are still subscribed. Don't forget, in the description box, you'll find the links to my Twitter, my Getter, my Rumble, my email, and my physical address. For those of you who've donated through the Coffee Fund or through the thanks button, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.